The TV series The Resident is very unlike other medical shows on TV in this modern era in the sense that the drama included in the series aims to push back against the conventional narrative of hospitals being a place of irrefutable refuge. But even with such ambitious goals, there are moments of hilarity on set that shouldn't go unnoticed. Which is why here is a list of The Resident's funniest moments and bloopers nobody knew about. Number 1. Learning medical lingo by watching videos. As any medical school student will be able to enthusiastically tell you, it takes at least 11 years of truly tumultuous and dedicated study to even begin your practice. So when actors, who are not very used to medical terms and scientific names for sicknesses, are put in front of a camera with a bunch of terms like immune thrombocytopenic purpura or Porphyus cantuatarda in their scripts, it's only natural for them to feel a little lost. This is when background research comes in handy. Actress Emily Van Camp, who plays headstrong nurse Nicolette Nevin, also known as Nick, and actor Matt Zurchery, who plays the dreamy yet aloof Conrad Hawkins, in a 2018 interview admitted to watching YouTube videos of real-time surgeries as prep work. Before a drama, the actors believe the show is more action-based. Considering the carefully coordinated movements these doctors have to make, the scenes seem almost choreographed in their smoothness and agility. All this whilst knowing and learning the names of grievous illnesses, being able to convince the viewers of their legitimacy is truly a measure of their true skill. But regardless of that, visualizing the likes of actors like Emily Van Camp and Matt Zurchery sitting looking up specific surgery videos on YouTube never fails to be an interesting mental image. Number 2, getting the set to be as accurate as possible. When famous YouTube Dr. Mike, whose entire shtick is making YouTube videos reacting to TV shows based around medicine practice and commenting on how well they compare to a real-life hospital environment, was invited to the set of The Resident, his video did not disappoint. Fans got an exclusive look on the set of the show, one they'd only seen glimpses and tiny flashes, and that too with no one around. In the video, Doc talks to actor Manish Dayal, who plates in the show the comments on the authenticity of the set. Throughout the video, we get Dr. Mike's insights into how accurate the set seems to be, from the post-its on the nurses' computers, at which he laughs in delight, to the patient care chart in one of the hospital rooms in the video. He also talks about how if he was invited to this place with no prior knowledge of this location being a set, he'd believe himself to be in a real hospital. And talking about the accuracy of the show, albeit steeped in romanticism, Manish Dayal talked about the show's advisor on all things medical and doctor-related. He mentioned actively working emergency trauma RN, Sunshine Bartel Gabor, who works as a medical advisor on the show, and how she waits until the end of a particularly incorrect scene to point out how it could be improved. We're sure getting the set to be as accurate as a real hospital may be difficult, especially when you consider how all these tiny details aren't exactly the ones we, as viewers, tend to remember. One thing though that made Dr. Mike chuckle was the blood pressure reading on the heart rate monitor connected to the beds, as he claimed that any patient with those heart monitor readings is probably dead. Number 3, bed railings and technicality issues. It's no surprise that medical equipment needs to be handled with gentle care and in a very particular way. And it's built to be sturdy and unmoving, but with that pro comes the con of it being very hard to manage with little practice. For example, while touring the ER, Manish Dayal took Dr. Mike to one of the beds, and amongst praises of the accurate set design compared to the very inaccurate heart rate monitor, he mentioned the railings. Now, the railings on hospital beds are usually very movable, in the sense that depending on bed type, they can fold inwards and downwards onto themselves and to make the bedside free of the railing. This is done to ensure patients can easily get out of their beds if the need arises, especially when patients are frail after surgery or in recovery. Manish pointed out that because these railings are operated in such a particular manner and require very specific movements to come apart, often scenes can be derailed when one of the actors fails to execute it properly. He chuckled while recounting the story, and we can't help but think about the many great takes that went amiss and were never included because of actors' inability to correctly fold the railing. Since they are supposed to be portraying a realistic version of hospital proceedings with real doctors and nurses, the act of handling this equipment should come naturally to them. Number 4, blood squirting machine. Next up, we're sure every viewer who's watched The Resident has also watched the blood squirting scene, partially because it was the unhinged opening scene of the TV series itself, but also because it's really iconic and memorable. The show used shock value to grip the viewer into watching the show, keeping them on edge, and let's be real, who doesn't love a side of gore in their medical show of choice? Either way, we might finally have an explanation for how exactly the show manages to make blood spurt out of their human bodies. Well, in the same video with Dr. Mike W., Manish Dayal talked about a specially curated device the show uses to squirt out blood with varyingly different pressures in the operating room. Apparently, this device has a clear plastic tube that's tucked under the patient's clothes or sleeves, and has a pump attached that one may push down upon using their foot to make the blood leak out or squirt, depending on the pressure. Manish Dayal also talked about how the operating room is always a mess, detailing how it's a bloody slip and slide on regular workdays. We just can't help but wonder if a cast or crew member has ever tripped on the liquid. But the sad fact is that we can't know because the studio that allows the production of The Resident does not allow the filming, or at least the release of these gag reels or blooper reels from the show. This means there's little to no behind-the-scenes footage available on the internet. When asked on both Twitter and Instagram, Amy Holden Jones, who works as a writer on the show, replied that the Fox Broadcasting Company, their studio, unfortunately does not allow the posting of their behind-the-scenes video or their blooper reels. She claims that it may be for a good legal reason, which makes sense. Her exact words were, "They don't allow us to make a reel. I'm not sure why, but there must be a solid legal reason, so sorry." The writer seems to be all apologetic for some reason, which probably emphasizes their genuine anguish at not being able to share with fans. Considering that blooper reels and behind-the-scenes compilations are usually a means for fans to connect even more with the actors portraying their favorite characters on screen. This does leave many fans disheartened and devastated, but at the same time, fans are still allowed a little windows on the set behind the scenes with the pictures the cast and crew members post on their social media profiles, like teasers of upcoming scenes in the show and the cast goofing off on set. But as the show heads towards a new direction, with Emily Van Camp leaving the show permanently, fans hope that they're allowed more insight into the on-set proceedings and can experience the show in a more connected way. Emily Van Camp's departure means many things, the most worrisome of which is the direction the show may take in her absence. As one of the most integral characters on the show, with her storyline literally being entangled in a marriage with Matt Zuturi's Conrad and Gigi, the baby they share, how her departure is handled is extremely important. As the trailers hype up a sad tragedy in Conrad's future, we can't help but expect a sad end of Van Camp's Nic, perhaps a death. But who knows? The first episode, despite not featuring Nic, does feature a phone conversation she has with Conrad, supposedly on a spa retreat. We assume that to have been possible as a result of a Van Camp recording audio for the show before her official departure, so that it does not appear abrupt at all. And by the end of the first episode of this new season, Conrad texts her a sweet "can't wait to see you tomorrow," which seems like a textbook ominous foreshadowing to us. It's almost impossible to have her actually make it back home from her spa retreat in Atlanta. We assume mid-journey is when she passes. In the trailer for episode 2, police are seen arriving at Conrad's door with some bad news, and the heavily advertised "healing starts from within" banners the show keeps promoting. We can definitely assume that this series will now be focusing on Conrad's journey without Nic. And with that, we wrap up this video. Thanks for watching.